Thanks again for watching this week's Class Nugget, bringing you some highlights from the coaching session from this past week, the week of July 8th. Last week marked our 8th Next Step Class Nugget. It's been our ongoing effort to give you more support during the week, another hit of program content, because let's face it, there's so much counter content out there, so much counter programming, if you will. Don't we all know it? So the more involved you can be in the whole weight management, health management, positive lifestyle conversation throughout the week, the better. And that's what we're doing here. So we've moved into a theme for the next few weeks of discussing calories in a more detailed way, because weight management is all about calories. So with that, we're actually going to call this one a Next Step Food Nugget, because that's more in line with the theme here, calories. And there will be times when it is a Next Step News Nugget, or a Next Step Health Nugget, or a Next Step Research Nugget. So, calories. I'm going to share this story again. Many of you have heard this several times. How many times in the past 30 years have Bill and I made this comment along with our first coach and mentor in the program, our dear friend Nancy? And here's the quote: "I can't believe how much I still use my training on the original HMR calorie system when making food choices." Dozens of times we've said this. And while the one-page HMR calorie system remains a brilliant teaching tool for conveying the gist, the overall gist of things, the original 7-page calorie system is still a very potent driver of behavior change. So we'll be reviewing these pages over the next several weeks. And this week, we really hammered the protein page. Now, just as we were asked to do throughout the 90s, we're inviting you to begin your own training here and start to memorize the anchor points and the specific foods on the pages as we review them during our sessions. So here's a simplified version of the protein page. You've all seen this at this point. And the anchor points are 25, 50, 75, 100, and 125. These are estimates only, to be sure, but you'll be right in the ballpark with these values, so don't worry about that. But the most important thing is to get the portion size right. Hey, the truth is, you can be off a little bit with your estimates as it relates to calories per ounce. If you call chicken 50 calories an ounce when maybe it's a little higher calorie at 60 calories per ounce, that's no big deal. That's not a huge calorie error. But on portion size, if you're calling a 10-ounce piece of chicken only 6 ounces, and that's easy to do, let's face it, well, that error in portion size translates to a 200-calorie error, which is significant. And let's be honest, it's a bit discouraging when you think that you're doing everything right. I'm eating chicken, I'm looking at my portion sizes, etc. So getting the portion size estimates is very important. So some intentional repetition here, and you all know why I'm doing this. We're making copies in your brain, otherwise known as learning. The protein page, anchor points, 25, 50, 75, 100, 125. And 3 food groups, fish, poultry, and then red meat. 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, and then 3 food groups, fish, poultry, then red meat. It's pretty simple, and you may already have these anchor points and the foods memorized. Now that's a simplified version of the page. Here's the detailed version with a few guidelines at the bottom. Now, we've already talked about the importance of getting the portion size right. The next guideline is, as the color of the protein darkens, the calories tend to increase. This is certainly the case with fish and poultry, so let's look at that. Whitefish and shellfish, and when we say shellfish, we're talking about shrimp, scallops, lobster, they are all as low as it gets at 25 calories per ounce. But as the fish gets darker, the calories increase. So for example, salmon or tuna, they move up to the higher end. Let's call them 50 calories per ounce. And with poultry, as the chicken or the turkey meat gets darker, again, the calories increase. And the only other guideline to highlight here is how important preparation method is for keeping the calories low. Remember this: the less fat a protein source has, the more like a sponge it is for absorbing fat. Less fat, more like a sponge. So whitefish with very little fat acts like a sponge if you fry it in oil or fry it in butter, because it absorbs the fat like a sponge. And the calories are multiplied, and they're multiplied by a lot. You could take a 25 calorie per ounce fish say, halibut or sea bass and actually quadruple the calories by frying it, turning it into 100 calorie per ounce food. More calorie dense than French fries, fried fish. So, is it worth it for those extra calories? Well, that's for you to decide, but with this calorie knowledge, you can now decide. Calorie knowledge like this just helps us to make more informed decisions around our food choices. Oh, and here's Nancy again, and may I ask what's on her mind as she's riding down the zip line? Looks like she's hang gliding. And I quote, "I can't believe how much I still use my training on the original calorie system." Now, how about different preparation methods changing the calories in poultry? Poultry tends to have a little more fat than white fish, so it's a little less like a sponge, but it still absorbs the fat if you're frying it. So fried chicken can still be as much as double the calories of broiled chicken because it again absorbs the fat like a sponge. Now, how about beef? Well, beef tends to have more fat than fish or poultry, so therefore it acts even less like a sponge. And while frying red meat does increase the calories, it's only by about 50% as a rough guideline. Again, unlike fish or poultry, where the calories are increased much more dramatically. But I say only 50%, we need to remember, we're already starting with a higher calorie food with red meat and increasing the calories on top of that. All right, so there you have it. Now, I will joke with you here by saying, as Larry said to us for over 30 years, if I wake you up in the middle of the night, shine a light in your face, will you be able to recite the anchor points of the protein page? One more time, 25, 50, 75, 100, 125. Fish, poultry, then red meat. So again, as part of your training on this, start to memorize the anchor points and the foods on this page and all the pages as we unveil them, and we'll build from there, and I promise you, it'll be worth it. Okay, 2 quick shout outs to end this little food nugget. First, a quote from Charles, and I have to be honest, we call Charles the heart of our Wednesday 1 o'clock coaching session. After reviewing the protein page this past week, Charles stayed on the call after we were having a conversation, and he said this simply: "This is really different. This really hits hard. Why am I not buying more cod, haddock, and flounder?" Why indeed, Charles? And I suspect that's about to change at only 25 calories per ounce. And our other shout out, a long-standing program member, Sister Gail, who we have quoted in our class nuggets recently, referred a colleague to us at Next Step. And now Sister Flo is a new member. Welcome aboard, Flo. Flo actually joined Phase 2 directly, and she's never done Phase 1 before. And we really like that. The fact that we can have the flexibility to have people join us without needing to commit to the Phase 1 box if it's not the right time for you to do that. That's what we call practical flexibility. But here's the real thing to acknowledge. During her onboarding, Flo and I connected a lot. I wanted to make sure she got a strong start. Before she attended her first group, which was 2 weeks ago, she had lost 19 pounds. Way to go, Flo. Talk about jumping into the program with both feet. And now, Flo, you ain't looking back. So, to all of you, this week, keep both feet in it. Keep making the next right choice, the next healthy choice, as we all keep maneuvering through this insane food culture of ours and the challenges of the summer as they keep coming up. And thanks for watching.